Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth participated in a second group chat discussing U.S. military attacks in Yemen. This according to a report in the New York Times that says the group chat included Hegseth's wife, personal lawyer, and others.
The report came during a weekend of turmoil at the Pentagon. Drew Petromo joins us now with more. Drew, how is the Trump administration responding to this story?
Well, hey, Robby and Bofta. The response so far is attack the messenger. DoD spokesman Sean Parnell saying this is an old story being promoted by what he says is the Trump-hating media. And there is an aspect of this that is old news. We already knew the defense secretary had talked about sensitive military operations on Signal, a commercial messaging app. We learned of that because a journalist was accidentally included on the text chain. Now we learn of this second group chat that, according to the Times, included Hegseth's wife, personal lawyer, and about a dozen others described as being involved in Hegseth's professional and private life before he became defense secretary. The Times says the information shared on the text chain in mid-March was sent from Hegseth's personal cell phone and included upcoming flight schedules of military aircraft targeting Houthi rebels in Yemen. Still, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said this morning the president absolutely has confidence in Hegseth and he stands strongly by him. Hegseth was asked about the report at an Easter celebration this morning at the White House.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations.
Hegseth is apparently referring to DoD officials, including one of his former senior advisors who were fired last week amid an investigation into department leaks. Those officials described themselves as supporters of the Trump-Vance mission to make the Pentagon great again. They released a statement on Saturday saying they'd been slandered and fired without cause. Hegseth's chief of staff also reportedly leaving his post. And another former top DoD official under Hegseth wrote in a Sunday op-ed that the department has been in total chaos for the last month, adding that more bombshell stories are expected this week. Guys?
Thanks so much, Drew. It does seem like a lot of craziness.
Look, this is a story that keeps growing legs, as we say in journalism, right? Like it's just we're finding out more information week by week, if not day by day sometimes, on the Signal group chat and now this second one, of course. And it seems the Trump administration still is saying, you know, we're defending him.
I also don't want to get distracted by just this narrow aspect of it because there are some other things going on. There was a purge of officials working in the Pentagon, working with Hegseth that had recently come on board, including someone I know of, Dan Caldwell, who is somewhat of kind of my ideological bent in terms of foreign policy, a more America first, a less interventionist foreign policy. I am getting the sense that inside the administration there is really a ideological conflict, argument, debate going on between people who want a more hawkish response to Iran as those negotiations are being worked out, that is more deferential to the government of Israel, to Netanyahu, and that's on one side, and then people on the other side who are more in a MAGA base, America first, be less involved, don't escalate tensions with Iran, is giving Israel everything it wants and then some, actually going to be good for our own security, a more skeptical of intervention. That wing, it looks to me, frustratingly and unfortunately, because I agree with that wing, is being pushed out a little bit, in which officials did not get roles, including Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who's a guest we have on our show very frequently to discuss these matters. He was up for a top job for Tulsi Gabbard and then didn't get it at the last minute because he's been a vocal critic of Israel's government and what it's doing in Gaza. So that's the background of this, and it looks to me like, what I am reading between the lines is there's some accountability for the chat, the Signal stuff, being shifted to people that other people in the administration want to push out for ideological reasons. Well, that's what I see going on.
I think it's also a typical Trump. I mean, you've brought on a former Fox News host who has never served in a high-level ranking position in the government, who's using his private phone to talk about things that could put U.S. pilots, if it was captured by the enemy. I think this is big picture stuff. If it was leaked to the enemy, it could have jeopardized U.S. pilots. And I think that it's being brushed off. It's being brushed aside. There's a complete lack of judgment by Pete Hegseth, and he needs to go. Anyone who's looking at this from a common sense lens, he needs to go. I mean, what is your wife and brother doing in this chat? And you're talking about the timing of flights and the type of flights. Why?
Yeah, look, he's going to face a lot of scrutiny over this. So far, Republicans are not blaming him for it, standing by him. That's what they're saying publicly. You know, we're not going to give the Atlantic or anyone else a scalp. That's what they've said. We don't care that that's what they're saying in public. I don't know if they're saying different things behind the screen. Even Tom Cotton was like, we need to get to the bottom of who did this leak. Hegseth's doing a great job.
Guess what? More leaks are coming. That we know. We're only, a few months into the administration. There's going to be more leaks, and maybe it will be because of some of the background that you talked about right at the top of this, right? So maybe it is because of that. But either way,
because to me that's ultimately a bigger deal. I know people are focusing on why were they having these chats on Signal or why were people who shouldn't be in them, but whether we strike Iran's nuclear facilities or not is ultimately a bigger issue, right? And there is an actual disagreement within the Defense Department and the State Department probably as well about whether we should do that.
Right, but we can't.
J.D. Vance is more skeptical of doing that. Tulsi Gabbard's more skeptical of doing that. I don't know about Pete Hegseth. We saw in that Signal chat there was an actual disagreement between J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth about whether the strikes on the Houthis should happen or whether we should wait a month.
Right.
There are disagreements on significant policy.
Sure.
And the people who share the let's wait it out, let's not have military strike as option number one, are being pushed out of the administration. And that is concerning to me. That's more concerning to me, frankly, than whether Jeffrey Goldberg was in the chat. Not that he should have been, not that that was making excuses for it.
I think
but
bottom line is what I'm saying is that there has to be accountability either way. So, had this been another administration, I do think that at this point, Hegseth would be out, okay? So I think there still has to be, there can be disagreements. There are disagreements that happen in politics all the time and that happen in war rooms, not on a private phone on a publicly available chat. This is not a mom group chat. And I think it's being treated so casually that people are brushing it aside because that's what the Trump administration wants everyone to do. So there needs to be accountability either way, whether there's a disagreement or not. And sure, there may be ideological views that are happening that are shifting. Well, guess what? You bring different people in, and I don't agree that somebody should be fired because of it, but you bring different people into your administration, hopefully, that can shed light on different sides of things that are experts, and we don't have as much of that right now.
Coming up next, Supreme Court Justice Alito blasts a late-night ruling on the Trump administration's deportation flights, calling it legally questionable. We'll discuss. More Rising right after this.